Hey there, this is Mike, and you're watching Feeling Twisty. I'm really glad you're here, and I'm really glad my first guest is here, Mr. 2020. He was the top of my list on who to ask to be on this new element of Feeling Twisty. And at 20, Mr. 2020, welcome to the show.
Oh, Mike, it is my absolute pleasure. And as soon as I saw you put up a post about this, I thought I can't wait to connect with you again. So
Yeah,
I'm so happy to be here, and it's just a joy sharing the love and the dance with you.
yeah. In fact, this episode's called 20s Dance.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. Thanks again. It means a lot. I know you're busy. You've got a lot of things you like to do, uh, and I know you enjoy your time. So I appreciate you taking out a little bit of your time to talk to me and fans of Feeling Twisty. I'm just going to jump right into it. You know,
Let's do it.
we those of us who have followed you and watched your lives, we know a lot about you. We know about your dogs and your wife and the life in Australia. Uh, but there's always more, and that's what I want to know. What's your
Beauty.
story?
Wow. There's quite a few. And I was pondering, I didn't have a clue how we were going to do this. So I
Yeah,
thought it's just going to be a delightful dance. I, my background, so you're talking my story with Neville Goddard and this kind of stuff?
Ha- I want to know. We know this much about you. You know the Neville Goddard time, but uh, whatever you want to share. I want to get to know you, and I want the listeners and viewers to get to know you a little bit more.
I My earliest memories as a little boy, I remember just realizing there's more to life than what they think there is. And I'd look around at my mom, a lovely human being, my dad, another lovely human being, the neighbors, the other kids, and I always felt there's more to this than what they're letting on. And part of me wanted to think like maybe they know it, but they're not telling me. And part of me
Oh,
went, I think they're missing something. And as I woke up to this kind of lifestyle and this kind of way of living life, I remember I was listening to Bob Monroe, the Him I Sink guy. And Bob always starts his recordings with a little mantra kind of thing that includes you're more than your physical body. And I always got, you're the spark behind the eyes, Mike. And as soon as I showed up in this application we're using and I saw your eyes and I see the spark of you, and to me, if we strip away all the manifesting stuff and all the philosophy and all the technology and all the stuff, you're the spark that gives life to the fire.
yeah.
And the fire is transformational. It's transformative. It's translational. It changes everything. And if I could say I've got my number one mission in life, besides the whole thing with vision and so on, your vision is how you see the world. And the dance you came here to dance and to do what you came here to do. We were just talking about that right before. And when you really start to get, I'm the spark behind the eyes. Here's my mission. My agenda is more playtime and more playmates. I want that in the world. I want more playtime in the world. I want more playmates in the world. What I really want is people to notice I'm the spark behind the eyes. So is Mike. So is that puppy. How could you possibly think something bad or do something dumb whenever you can look at another beingness
Mm.
and get there the spark?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, so this was you're way back, and I think we have similar. I think a lot of us. People I've spoken to have had this similar things where if we look back, we had this thing knocking on the back of our head, inside of us, trying to get out. Uh, I remember from an early age that experience as a teenager and a lot of things happening mentally. And of course, my parents thought I was crazy, a teenager and he's going insane. They thought I should go see a therapist. But I knew then that there's more to this. It can't be just what they're telling me in church. It can't be just this. Uh, and even Neville, nothing still can encapsulate all of it.
Yes.
There's so much. All of this is still within us.
Yes.
I'm going to let you. This is your thing, but I think I'm getting an idea of what you're talking about. I had a similar that nagging feeling. There's something else. There's something more here.
So I'm talking to you through this iPad thing, and I call my devices what they are to me. My iPad is my family and friend finder,
Uh,
and I notice with this stuff, I am finding a family of people who all their lives have had an inkling, a suspicion,
yeah,
like. There's a Native American fable called Jumping Mouse that I use a lot in what I do. And Jumping Mouse heard the river, and everybody else ignored it. But he heard the river, and he had to go find out what the river was. And it sets him in this transformative adventure. And some of us still hear the river. Some of us still know there's. I liken it to sometimes that you're more like an onion than a potato. An onion has layers, and as you peel them, you're probably going to shed some tears.
mm,
And as we explore the onion of us, the onion of you, the onion of me, the onion that we share, there's so many layers to it all that to go, oh, that's 20, he's an Aries, he's a fire horse, he was born in Pennsylvania. Yeah, there's no relationship there. But to
yeah,
discover the onions of each other, the layers of each other through any dance that we have, there's the spark, acknowledging the spark, the sparks inspiring each other, the sparks opening up to what's possible. Ah, that's the magic. That's the magic.
oh, it's when we're talking about this and talking with you, it's hard to get on with it. Hop on the next question. I just want to just sit with it. It's like this every time I talk with you, and I love that. Yeah. So tell me more about this journey, this spark. I know Neville and isn't something I think you did find Neville early on, but then kind of put it aside, or maybe I'm remembering that wrong.
No, you're spot on. So when I was a little kid and I discovered this thing called mind, you can rebuild your life with the power of your mind. I was a sickly kid born 3 months early. Everybody picked on me. I was picked last for gym and picked on by everyone. And I discovered this thing called self-improvement and self-development. And then I discovered there was a bookstore about a mile outside of town if you went through the cornfields. And they sold books for like 20 cents a piece. And I went nuts, Mike. Every Saturday I'd walk out and I'd go through and I'd get a bag of books. And it was just crazy cool. And one of those books one day was Neville Goddard. I forget which one. But I'd buy Napoleon Hill, the up and coming financial collapse, the Playboy guides to something. I mean, I was anything I could read about anything, investing in stocks. And so I'd start to read my books on the way home. And I was taking a detour so I could get an ice cream cone. And I'm going through this Neville Goddard book. It was probably something like At Your Command, because the title caught my attention. And as a 12-year-old little boy recovering from rebelling as a Catholic, I couldn't handle the scripture. So I got some good shit out of it, tore out a few pages, pitched the rest in the bin. Carrying books is heavy. So time goes on, and I find myself, I've given up on my dreams. I've decided to be a prison guard because it's a steady, safe paycheck, all that stuff. And at 23, I get beat to death in that riot. Afterwards, PTSD, so on and so forth. And my wife at the time decides we're going to join Amway. I'm like, all right. So we join Amway. I still love the soap. My upline gives me a couple books to read. He goes, you could use these. And one of them was a Neville Goddard book. And I went, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. I still not into the scripture bit. Stole some good shit, gave it back. And then a couple years later, I'm really working through this whole PTSD thing. I'm discovering PTSD is the imagination out of control. and I've got a quest for two things: love and truth. I figure if I'm going to be tortured to the day I die, I just want to know about love and
Yeah.
truth. And so I'm always meditating and pondering it. And then the events that Neville calls the promise start happening. And it's like, hold on, this is really weird shit. But where have I read about this before? There's that weird Never Goddard guy or something like that. And I looked up Neville and I fell back in love.
Mm.
And so it was a 3-act episode. It was a 3-act play, just getting to the point where I could like really dive in and just go, radio. Here's somebody who's having experiences that I get, putting it in language that I aspire to. And do you know how I started FreeNeville Goddard? I was so nuts about this stuff that somewhere in the early 2000s, I bought FreeNeville.com and I put up 221 lectures in a zip file. In order not to overload the server, I made him subscribe to an email list that I never emailed. And I said, if you have any questions, email me. I figured I'd be getting questions about how to unzip the zip file.
Right.
And I got a couple of those. But mostly I got questions about what does Neville mean by and how do I do this and so on. So that drug me into teaching this stuff from my weird NLP perspective. So all that happened by accident. And so, and because like I amassed a couple thousand names on an email list, and I started emailing them a little bit, and they liked it. Started a Yahoo group. That was fun. They went the way of the dinosaur. And here we are.
Wow.
All
Yeah,
accidental.
seemingly accidental. Yeah.
Seemingly accidental,
Yeah.
yes.
I love how that works. How when we're trying to micromanage it, it's got to go this way. I got to do it this way.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
never seems to work just right. It might work, but it hurts.
Yeah.
There's an uncomfortable ache that if we can just let go. In my last episode, I talked about that. It's the feeling of when I was a child. I've always loved roller coasters, but
Yes.
I would get on the roller coaster and I'd see people. They're like this, and I'm
Yeah.
like this. Oh, I'm
I
holding on.
I love that episode.
Oh, great. And then just do this. No hands, Ma. And that's it's counterintuitive. You think, no, I've got to hit it. I got to do this every day. I got to do this and this and this. But if you can just do this
Yep.
and let go, and that's what in the church we called it let go and let God. It's easier to let go and let God when you know who God is.
Yes.
That's you can let go of the judgment. You can let go of the past. But what about this? You can let go of yesterday or 5 minutes ago. And it's such a beautiful feeling. So this accident, FreeNeville.com, FreeNevilleGoddard.com.
Right. FreeNeville.com.
Okay. Hadn't you already done some teaching? You're doing Reiki. Is that how you pronounce it? Reiki?
Yeah, I did Reiki. Well, I did
That was
Reiki
way
for
back.
years and taught Tai Chi, Kung Fu, think you do shit, Native American stuff. So I've still been teaching a lot for years.
Yeah.
And I've been weaving Neville stuff in. I gotta tell you, I was so scared. I didn't want to be perceived as a spiritual teacher. I didn't want to talk Bible. I didn't want to be associated with that crowd at all. But it, but it's like, all right. So I still, I drink whiskey, smoke cigars, and swear. It's like, I'm the spiritual teacher that does that stuff, and because it's, I think there's something to be said about exploring and really understanding. I'm 100% human,
Yeah.
and I'm 100% divine, and the dance of those two, when they dance with your 100% human and 100% divine, we can't help but have, whether our meeting is a walk past each other, whether it's a glance, whether it's discussion, we can't help but both walk away literally transformed if we allow ourselves to accept we're not potatoes, we're onions. And we're really the spark behind the eyes.
Mm. Yeah. Every conversation I have about this kind of thing, or just uh, lovely things in about other things, it didn't have to always be manifesting or Neville
Yep.
Goddard. It's if you could just, I've learned to look at everything like that. There's a
Yes.
transformation happening, like you
Yes.
said. It if once I make I decide a thing or assume that new story, that new state, it's happening. I'm on the bridge. Neville refers to the bridge of incidents,
Yes.
uh, and so I look forward to every interaction because
Yes.
it's part of it. The lady, I love chatting with the lady that watches over the self checkout at the local grocery store.
Ditto.
I chat with her every day. I look
Yep.
forward to it because it's all part of it, and it took me a while to see that. I imagine this. Well, let me keep. I gotta
Oh
keep
no.
imagining that. I gotta keep imagining that. Wait, what's my mental diet? Let me check this and check that, and
It's
uh,
constipating if you do it that way, isn't it?
yes, yes, yes. So I know the point I'm trying to make is I know what you're talking about, that transformation. We're always transforming,
Yes.
uh, and if we can just quiet down a little bit and notice that and just enjoy the ride. Uh, I like to say decide and ride. And
Whoa, nice one.
it's, we think that God is out here. And so then we got to perform something, performative. I want to share this real quick with you. I had this really cool experience. Uh, I found myself in a ski lodge in beautiful mountains, snowy mountains in the background through the windows. But I'm safe in the ski lodge, and I was thinking that I'm safe in here. It's warm in here, and then I noticed under the windows there are these plaques under each window with a quote from
Wow.
different people. And then I got to a quote, and it was my quote, but I've never said it before. And it said, "You just need to sit down and decide a thing." And then I looked up through the window and I saw these people riding these huge rafts and this skiing and all these different things coming down the mountain, screaming in glee, having fun. And then I
Beauty.
heard the voice said, "And ride, decide and
Decide and
ride."
ride.
It's
Nice.
it's when we want to make it so hard. We want to, but I got to do this and I got to monitor this. And wait, what's that feeling? Does that mean I'm doubting? That
Oh,
feeling,
the inner. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
You
let
don't
all
need
that
that.
go.
So do you know
Yeah.
the origin of the word decide or decision? This is fascinating.
No, other than it means to cleave,
To, to,
to
to,
separate.
so I love the word cleave because cleave can be to separate or to embrace,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So when you bring that together, so decision sounds like incision.
Hmm.
Decide sounds like homicide, fratricide, right? What we get to do is kill off all other options. When I decide Italian sausages for lunch today, I've said no to everything else. There's endless opportunities for anything in this world. But I've decided, I've made a decision, I've cleaved and I've cleaved.
Yeah.
Italian sausages. Oh, they're
Mm.
so good. There's no fluff, no fillers. Yeah. And so when we really get what's the power of a decision? To cleave, to cleave. So I'll say it also since this is going to go on audio. To cleave, to embrace, to cleave, to separate,
Mm.
to fratricide, homicide, to kill off all other possibilities,
Mm.
which allows us to totally, it's like getting married. I know how much you and your sweetheart love each other. It is so apparent. And when you cleave to her, when you embrace her, you cleave, separate all other possibilities. And that, ah, allows you to give life to. And then there's your beautiful family.
Oh yeah. I always cry when I talk to you.
Oh,
Oh, I love it.
I
It's this
love
love.
it's the onion. It's the onion of
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. Uh, I like to think of decision. Same line. It's I'm choosing this, the choice cut. I'm taking this piece.
Yep.
I've got all of this I can choose from, but I'm taking this one. This is what I want.
Yes.
Mm,
And you can
decide and
change
ride.
your mind too. A lot of people, they
Right.
get so screwed up. I love how you mentioned the ways people get loopy in their heads. Not just in manifesting, in life. Life is, manifesting is nothing more than life anyway, right?
Right.
So we can cut to that chase. But whenever we can go, radio, you know what I'm doing? Uh, my ex-wife and I had 11 cats. We had 12 litter pans and 11 cats. I was a cat guy. I came to
Okay.
Australia and became a dog guy. I can
Ah.
change. I was a vegan years ago, actually a vegetarian. Did vegan for a short time, but couldn't do it. Vegetarian for about 2 years. Now I'm what I call a fleshitarian. I only eat real food. So real food defined as in if there's a picture on the package, it's not real food, right?
Right.
If I can look at what it is, it's real food, right?
Yeah. Ah. So I'm curious. I'm jumping here, but I want to know what got you uh, from Pennsylvania. Was it
Yes, sir.
Pennsylvania
Yep.
to Melbourne, Australia? How? I mean, that's a
That's
fucking
a
far away. That's a long way to go. That's a
yeah.
huge move.
So I was reading Dan Kennedy, the marketing maverick. Love the guy. And Dan Kennedy says, if you're going to make money online, if you're going to make a difference in the world, you've got to do market research. And you know me, right? How thrilled am I about doing market research? Good Lord. So I'm laying in bed one night after smoking a cigar, and I'm just chill. And it's like, oh, I'll outsource my market resource or my market research. So I put up a little ad for $97, Mike. I will make you a custom recording. We'll email back and forth half a dozen times, and I'll make a custom recording for you. I'll anonymize the circumstance so I can resell it as well. And people went nuts, right? So
Sure. Yeah.
a fella named Mike in Melbourne, Australia, belonged to a Forex trading group. And Mike reaches out and he says, $100, that's no biggie, I'll do it. So we go back and forth. I send him a recording. He gives it to his friend Leanne. Leanne says, I want one. She contacts me. We go back and forth. She gets one. She gives it to a third, or she tells a third woman. The third, or the second woman, third person. The next person orders one, gets one. Next thing you know, there's 20 people in this Forex group, and they've all bought custom recordings, and they're all sharing them, and so on. It's like, all right. Then they reach out and said, can we fly you down to work with us for a weekend? And I said, let's find out. So we figured out how much it's going to cost. And the whole thing is, if you're going to fly around the world to Australia, you got to stay for at least 2 weeks because you're screwed in the head after you land.
Right.
So I come down here for 2 weeks. I meet Leanne, who bought the second one. She takes me to the Forex trading group where Mikey is, and so on. This is like 2-3 days after I land, so I become human again. And I walk into the room and I meet someone. I met Victoria. Now she was the third person to buy one of those offers from me. Now here's the cool thing. Let's bring it back to imagination. I was imagining three things at the time: home, held, and business. I just felt a longing to be held like I haven't been held. I felt a need to find home. I was living in the heroin capital of Pennsylvania, right? So I didn't feel I carried 2 guns everywhere I went, backup bullets. I mean, I was ready. I was ready to rock and roll at any time, right? It was old, but I was ready for something different. So I was imagining held, home, and business. I move around. I visit here. Instead of staying 2 weeks, I stayed 3. I went back to the States, started closing everything down, went through a year of trying to figure out how to manifest the impossible. I'm here on a visitor visa. The only way to get a relationship visa is to have a 12-month relationship or longer, and I won't lie. Our relationship started within my 12-month window, which means I have to leave the country to file for that. It was so stressful and weird, but the way it all came together was fascinating. At the end of it all, they welcomed me in, and they said, do what you got to do. And then I got citizenship as time went on. So I became an Aussie, and I love my new chosen homeland.
I love that.
Yeah,
I you know, you can't help but rejoice in someone else's story, because it's still your story. That
absolutely.
it's oh, I love how everything just impossible things.
And
You and I both know that impossible things are not
happened.
impossible.
It, it,
Yeah,
it, it was impossible. Now, here's the funny thing. I thought I was making that $97 offer to have, I figured if someone spends 97 bucks and I have a couple interviews with them, that's my market research. So I'm getting
yeah,
paid to do market research. That's what I think I'm doing. I'm crossing a bridge for market research. What I was doing was meeting my wife.
yeah.
Wow. So while I'm crossing the bridge and enjoying the view of Dan Kennedy be proud, I'm doing market research and getting paid for it. I'm having people that are actual buyers tell me about themselves so I can factor that into who do I sell to, who do I help, who do I serve. Okay, that's all true. But on the bigger cosmic side, here she is.
Yeah. That's so cool. I think, well, we all go through that period where we're thinking linearly, in a linear fashion, and singularly, like this desire and this desire. Wait, is this a bridge for this desire? Is this a bridge for this desire? We
How can
get
you tell?
we take what Neville said, and then we turn it into a religion, and it's like, well, he said it's got to be this way, and then I got to, I didn't necessarily feel a thrill in my body this time,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't have a spiritual orgasm. We You got to let go of the religion. Those of
Yep,
us I've mentioned this before in my podcast. We want, tell me what to do. Give me the steps. Well, I did
yep.
the steps. I did all of these, and I didn't get shit. Like, it's not about the steps, and
It's a,
and you
it's
don't. Go ahead.
it's about the surrender.
Yeah.
When you really surrender, I tell the story because people get all worked up about if I hold the if I hold it in mind for 7 days, it'll come. If I make sure I feel the orgasm of the what's the breathing technique they all go nuts over? It's like
Oh, yeah.
no, you don't need any of that. Neville taught that once for a reason. But what did he actually teach, and what do you actually do all the time? And I say, I take Victoria shopping. We've got very different shopping styles. She looks at everything. I look at what I want, right?
Me too.
And we round the corner, and there's mustard on sale. This exclusive mustard that's like $8 a jar or something. And there's 3 different varieties. And I watch her turn and look at the mustard and surrender to it. She slows down just a tiny bit. You can watch her go inside and go, mustard. And now she's in there. She's imagining doing something with the mustards.
Mm.
Right. And then she's imagined having mustard, and now her physical body, part of the universe, walks over and takes one of each. And it's like, it's that fast. She surrendered to the mustard experience. She didn't go in her head and debate mustard and cost and price and do we have any, the endless mental stuff she didn't do. She surrendered to mustard. And then it ends up in the cart.
Mhm.
When we surrender to your desires, here's another one. I know you know this one, but is it an ego-based desire or is it a spiritual-based desire? Well,
Ah,
your desires are divine in origin.
right.
When you get your desires are divine in origin and they all have their plan and power of fulfillment. What's my job? Ah, I'm going to tell
Mm.
you something. I've been imagining interviews by people who I know, love, and trust. So it's like radio. I'm imagining interviews with people I know, love, and trust. And I just feel it and I surrender to it. And then I get on the Facebooks and I have no idea where you put this or anything. Hey, I'm going to be doing some. And I'm like, oh, me, please. Me, please. It's
Yeah.
no 7 days, no endless chanting, no vision boards, no brain waves. Just a surrender to what they call producer moment. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if Mike and I didn't even know it was you, but if or that it would begin with you, like it's beginning with me. I just experienced, like you experienced, a producer moment. Wouldn't it be cool to have these conversations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. This is, well, I love the microphone. You know my story. Some of it,
Yes,
started in radio, and then the 7 years of being sick and not being able to talk well enough to
yep,
be on the microphone. But this is it. This is my jam. I took a year off from feeling twisty.
I know.
Uh, I was tired. I didn't talk about it. I mentioned the hurricane on the episode. It did a wallop on our house, and so we had an adventure of. It was an adventure. The contractor disappeared with over $100,000.
Yow.
So I spent, paid him $130,000 and spent that much fixing everything they screwed up.
Been there.
So we were busy, and it's funny. A friend of mine messages me, calls me sometimes. Well, aren't you bitter? Aren't you? And I tell him, no, I can't be bitter, and I'm not going to hold any resentment because I can't separate him from me. And
Yes.
if I'm really honest with myself, there were concerns, of being, hearing stories of contractors disappearing and micromanaging everything. And instead of just surrendering to it. And so, no, I don't regret it. Everything that happens, the way I look at it, everything brings me, peels back another layer. Like you said, it gets me closer to who I am. And so I'm not grateful for the shit in my life. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? I'm not,
Yes.
I'm not that kind of grateful, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to notice that. I think people, if you're a teacher like you, or if you do a podcast like me, people tend to think that we're perfect, and then everything is perfect. And then, but I was in the hospital last year, a year ago. I'm not sure if I mentioned that on an episode or not. I had started having chest pains, and I ignored it, just letting it go. And then one night we're all playing cards. My family and I were playing cards, and my daughter-in-law is a nurse, and she watched me. She looked up. I caught her looking at me because I was like, ugh. So, in fact, it was a year ago because it was Mardi Gras weekend.
Well,
I said, I'm not going to the hospital. I know what to do. I'm not doing this. Mardi Gras parade. I'm there, and I'm the most intense pain in my chest, and my daughter-in-law was standing right next to me, and she said, you've got to go to the hospital. And I said, I'm not going to the hospital. Not going to do it. So that night, Kim looks at me, she says, we're going to the hospital. I said, I'm not going. I promise you I'll go tomorrow. And then Wednesday morning, she woke me up. She said, get up, go.
Time to go.
And it's funny because I fought myself. I fought it. I didn't want to go. But I walked myself into the ER, like this. Hey, I'm having really bad chest pains. And they freak out. And of course, the blood results are all over the place. So it's this, but there's this. And I thought, well, this sounds familiar. Blood results telling me one thing and then saying,
that's right.
So they couldn't find a cause. There was no heart attack. They couldn't find anything to say this is what's causing it. I knew the cause of it.
That's
Uh,
right.
and so I let that idea go. And instead of what I was doing is just fighting it and ignoring it, breathing through it instead of changing what I was imagining. And as soon as I let go of that, as soon as I started letting go of fighting it, I felt great. Those chest pains have gone. Uh, it's a great experience. It's been a wild year for me last year, but everything that happened last year got me to right where I am right now. And in these new ideas, these conversations, feeling twistier conversations.
Feeling twistier, Pete.
Yeah. That's this. So my friend asked me all the time, well, what about, you were sick and you should be bitter. I'm like, I'm not bitter. I'm telling you, there is no bitterness.
Yeah, you're better.
And yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
if we can let go of,
Yes.
I think when we put ourselves out there, as you do, as I do, uh, it's okay to admit that, yeah, there's some things, but we know the cause of it, and that's the beauty of this. That's where uh, the wonder of all of this for me is that
Yes.
even when there's shit, I know where it's coming from.
Little children are full of wonder, and little children are full of play. And they say to be as little children.
Yeah.
And I often think, and I love that you bring this up, because I'm not more perfect than anyone. I might be more playful than some people.
Hmm.
And being willing to play and notice, all right, I was playing a really dumb game there. Time to change the game.
Yeah. I think it's when you've gotten your mind that this is my one shot. I've got this one life. Here's when I was born, and here I'm going to die, and this is it. That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. You got to make it work. This is my one shot. And when you can allow yourself to let go of that idea,
Yep.
then you start to realize, wait, this isn't my first go round, and it may not be my last. You've mentioned this, and I love that when you said this one time. You talked about, some people, most things you see are like, what would you do if you die? You're going to die Friday. But then you posed a question: what do you do today if you know you're never going to die?
Yeah.
Oh,
You might change rodeos. That's all right. This ain't my first rodeo, and I might go to another one at any time. But while I'm at this one, while I'm enjoying this rodeo,
yeah.
what am I gonna do? There's so much to do with a rodeo.
I love that. Hmm. Let's talk about death. You mentioned that since we're on it, uh, you know, my friend, this one friend that he's constantly asking me questions, and yeah, I want all of this, but what if I die before I get that? But I want to hear. I know what I talk about, but this is you. I want to. Let's talk about death and what it means to you.
You know, I had that, they call it the near-death experience back when I got beat at the prison.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to know about that, and I tend to blow that off a lot because I'm more interested in instead of talking about a near-death experience, I'm more interested in having an actual life experience.
Mm.
And I think that was one of the gifts that gave to me, because on another realm, my grandma died when I was 8, 7, somewhere around there. And the thing is, she didn't die. Right? She kept showing up in at least in here.
Yeah.
And I get that I was open to I'm more than my physical body. As Neville would say, consciousness is the only reality. We don't die, we just, in the twinkle of an eye, something happens. And I really notice what we refuse to see, we don't. What we're willing to notice, we can. And so years ago, I had this dog named George. He was a little black dog. I got him at a flea market. He was a runt full of worms. The vet was surprised he lived. The vet called me the day after I took him in. So I picked him up on a Sunday, took him in on Monday. Tuesday, the vet calls and asks, "How's the puppy?" I said, "The puppy's good." He goes, "Good, he'll live then." And he hangs up the phone. That was George Neerhoff. That was his bedside matter. And I had George for like 15 years. And then, yeah, George, I didn't have George anymore. But I noticed from time to time he would show up in my consciousness. Like I'd just be taking a walk, and it wasn't a memory. It was different. And then eventually, my wife at the time and I had 5 kittens. And one of the kittens came out with George fur and George markings,
Ah.
and eventually George mannerisms. Right. So now my dog's back as a cat. That's cool. That's fun. But I mention all that just as this stuff. It doesn't matter what my philosophy is. What matters is my experience and yours. And if we're willing to experience what you are, Mike, is love, the spark behind the eyes. I've taken little walks in the garden and had friends that have died years ago. Just sort of, I feel their presence, and I can tell like we're having an inner conversation with each other. And then for some reason, their widow will reach out, and I'll just share a couple words, and that's what Ken would tell me. Yeah, I know. That's what Ken told me the other day. And I really get. I'm going to squeeze every last drop out of today. Before I get out of bed this morning, I'm doing my Joseph Goddard's, and I'm imagining my pool, email, my appointments, our call. I know these specific events of my day having gone my way. Blessing and full. And I will squeeze every drop out of every day. It's about pleasure, not pressure. If I make it about, odds are I'm going to be dead in 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, whatever. Now we've got pressure. But on the other hand, if we choose pleasure instead, how can I contribute and be contributed to today in a way that enhances tomorrow? I'll pull the weed and plant a seed. My grandpa was a wise old fella. My grandpa was like 4'10", maybe 5 foot tall. He had eyebrows out to here. He looked like he should have been in the Lord of the Rings. And he would say things like, to live, you've got to give. And that whole thing of just noticing, give us today our daily bread. It's not just what I need to survive the day. Give me today my daily bread. In other words, I'm breaking bread with you. I love the phrase. You and I are breaking bread. We're sharing a meal, something that enriches us and those around us. And when we really, really get consciousness is the only reality, sure, the meat suit's going to drop over one of these days. I'm going to do the best I can to take care of it and enjoy it while I'm here. But, we're the spark, baby. We're the spark. We're the soul. We're the love. And where we get to dance together next, we get to discover that.
I think that's a great place to stop. If we don't, we'll go for 2 hours.
I hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, 20. Don't not log off after we say goodbye on here. I want to chat with you for just a moment, but
Please.
I want to thank you. I know the listeners of Feeling Twisty and the viewers that go to the YouTube channel, they're going to be blessed by this because you are. It's always every experience with you is always a blessing to me, and I love that, and I love you, man.
I love you, my friend.
Thank you.